I think we're disappointed. Obviously, had an opportunity to go out and play well on a big stage, and we're disappointed in the way we played. Lot to be learned from it. I think that's a good thing. I think that there's some games you play in where you look back at the game and you go, well, there's not much we could have done, and that's really not the case in this game. I mean, there's obviously a ton of things and a ton of mistakes and a ton of things to learn from, and so that's the goal. But yeah, I think our guys were disappointed and frustrated and I think pissed off, honestly.
Sonny, you mentioned after the game the missed tackles were an issue.
Yeah.
PFF recorded about 18. And
Yeah.
You could address that. What have you done?
Yeah, well, we tackled on Sunday. We tackled today.
Coach, has there been a point of emphasis just heading into this week looking at Nicholls State that you've just been stressing throughout after Saturday? But
Yeah. The biggest thing is just to have that kind of killer mentality and that mindset. I think the thing that we talked about, and we've tried to use some examples with our players, is college football is different than it used to be. I mean, there are teams that on Saturdays beat teams that they're not supposed to beat, and I think it's you have to be able to play at a high level, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, I think that there are these games that people perceive are kind of mail-in games, and they're not. People are going to have new players and transfers, and there's a lot of good coaches and good schemes, and it's just it's a competitive world out there in college football, and so you have to be the most excited team to play. I think that's the thing that is and I think it's been consistent. I mean, I think you go back and you look at our season last year. I mean, look, we were a 5-win team the year before, and we won 13 ball games. Okay, and we did that because week in and week out we were the most excited team to play, and didn't matter who we played, didn't matter, whether or not we were big favorites, big underdogs, whatever. Week in and week out, our guys were motivated. They were excited. We had great leadership, and we went out and we played at a high level. And we made plays down the stretch to give ourselves opportunities to win games. And a lot of that has to do with just your effort and your intensity and your confidence and all those things. And that's all generated by a desire and a love and a burning desire to be good and to go out and prove yourself. And, I think sometimes as an organization, you got to be careful. And we talked about this a lot in the offseason, just about losing that edge, and how hard it is to get it back if you lose it. And, we didn't play like a team that had that edge on Saturday.
How do you reset that?
I mean, just, grind them. That's what we did on Sunday. I mean, we practiced on Sunday for a long time. We had a really tough practice today. And, you hope you have some leadership that steps up and is invested enough to really care. That's the bottom line. And, because, again, I think we've given Colorado credit. Those guys did a great job, and they had some great players, and those guys made plays in critical situations. But, we shouldn't come to that. I mean, we should have been able to handle that game and win that football game, and we didn't do it.
So obviously, you had quite a few of your key players that do lead, and there were guys back that were leaders for you.
Yeah.
How do you find that balance, and I guess what I'm asking is, did you see something?
No, I didn't have any idea it was coming. I think we felt good, really good about our prep going in. I think that there's always things that you kind of wish you would have done different, and some things you could emphasize maybe during fall camp and that kind of thing. And those are all self-evaluation things that you do every day. I mean, that's the one thing that we do as a program. We have ideas, we implement them, we see if they work, and we try to push buttons and move people around and adjust and adapt and try to stay ahead. And so, I think that's been the key to our success. Again, I think it allowed us to have the kind of season that we had last year. And so we've got to do the same thing this year. But it all comes down to, again, like we said earlier, on Saturdays, it's more often than not, it's going to come down to the team that wants to win at the worst. And there's going to be some games you go in and you go, well, this team's a lot more talented or whatever. But I mean, we found ways to handle that last year.
Rick DeBruin gave a little bit of a spark.
Yeah. I thought Rick. I was happy with the way Rick played.
Is he a guy that you can see playing?
Yeah. Rick's going to continue to, like a lot of guys. I mean, as guys make plays and as they, as they continue to help us win, then they're going to get more reps. You know what I mean? And so he's a guy and that's what you want. You want competition, and the guys that make plays are the guys that are going to get the ball on offense, and the guys that make plays are the guys that are going to get snaps on defense.
I'm sorry, is Abe Kamara kind of in that same?
Yeah. It's the same way with everybody, really. Yeah, it's not any different with any position. And, we didn't play well. We didn't tackle well, particularly on the back end. And I think all those guys, need to perform better, or there'll be somebody else playing in front of them.
To that point, 10 guys I think caught passes on Saturday. Who from that group really stood out to you?
I thought some guys did some good things. I think we're still trying to kind of have that guy that we can count on day in and day out develop. I think that's when you sit here and you look at it, you say, Jack Bash has been very, very consistent. He's the one guy to me that kind of stands out in the group, just in terms of he's been available every day. He's got a great work ethic. You know what you're going to get every day out of him in practice. And that's what quarterbacks are looking for, is guys that they can trust and guys that they know where they're going to be and when they're going to be there. And really that's what playing the wide receiver position is all about, whether it's a tight end or receiver or slot receiver, whatever it is. Being in the right place at the right time and where the quarterback knows where you're going to be. And so Jack, to me, is somebody who continues to, he's just there every day. He practices every day. He hadn't been banged up, and I think as a result, he's gotten better. Was encouraged by some of the things I saw from Dalen. I thought he did some good things in the game. He still got here late. He's still learning. He's still working on being consistent. But I was encouraged by some things he did. The one guy that I wish we could have gotten a little bit more involved was Jalen Robinson. I think he had a great fall camp, had a really good practice today. And, again, as you see guys start to develop, they'll become more of a focal point of the offense.
You obviously see the numbers from Amani Bailey and what he did. But give us some sense, Trey Sanders now seemingly healthy.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long
Yeah. Yeah, I think Trey's coming along. I think I'm not surprised with the production I saw from Amani, because it goes back to the same thing earlier. Day in, day out, he's available, he's there, he practices hard. He's, he's very dependable. He's what you're looking for at that position. And Trey is a guy that's, you can tell he's had a little bit of rust, and I think he's hadn't played a lot of football. And so, every single snap and rep is important to him in practice and in games and everything, just because he's trying to make up for some lost time. And that's hard to do. That's when you haven't had a lot of snaps, it can be difficult on you to get back in that football game mentality and that mode. I'm encouraged, and I think he will. It's just going to continue to take some work.
With Chandler, that being only his 4-star, we know the 2 picks were big, but what did you see when you evaluated him?
Yeah, I thought he did some good things, made some mistakes that some young quarterbacks make from time to time. But I was encouraged by it. I think it's something that we can build on, and look, it's a different role being the starting quarterback than it is coming off the bench and being a backup. It's just a different thing. It's and so there's a lot of growing that has to take place off the field, and just your leadership and the way you deal with success and adversity, and just all those things are lessons that starting quarterbacks have to learn along the way. And there's really no substitute for experience. And so I think he's learning those things. I think his performance was a good starting point for sure. I think he can play much better than he did, and I think he will. And I think we're going to have to continue to improve and get better.
Coach, you said after the game Saturday, when you looked at the yards, and especially the rushing yards, that you should win a ball game like that.
Yeah.
When you looked at the film and over the weekend, what was kind of your overall assessment of how Kendall?
Yeah, I was happy. I was happy with again, there's always some things that you go, well, we probably should have done this or should have done that. But, you look at the game, when you lose football games, there's always a series of things that happen. For example, we got the ball down inside the 10-yard line or inside the 15-yard line, I believe, and we run a reverse to Besh. Okay, we get a false start. We're probably going to score on the play. Okay, the next play, we throw an interception. And so, that's what losing football teams do. You know what I mean? That's what teams that lost to us last year, that's what they did. They had the play called and dialed up that's going to be the touchdown. Then they get a false start. Then the next play, they turn the ball over. And so that's the difference between winning and losing. it's really that simple. And it's that way week after week after week. And so there's a fine line there. And again, you look at however many games that we've played and you take out the national championship game, I mean, how many of those games did we play in last year that came down to the last possession of a game? And I would imagine the same thing's going to happen this year. You know what I mean? And the game Saturday came down to the last possession of the game. You go down to the Michigan game, came down to the last possession of the game. The Big 12 championship came down to the last possession of the game. You know, you could sit there and you could go through pretty much every game we played. And so there's a very fine line between winning and losing. And you just have to do the little things right, because those things are the things that add up. And you know, you look at last night's game, Clemson and Duke. I mean, one of the things I found was interesting, Dabo, after the game, I think he said they were 108-0 when they had over 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing. Well, that's what we did. And, you know, lost the game. And so, you know, typically when you do that, you win those games.
Coach, last week you talked about how it was important that the team would play clean football, especially in regards to penalties.
Yeah.
What's being done now this week?
I mean, that's the thing about it. I mean, look, there's always some things that happen in the first ball game, and we had a couple of penalties. We had a couple of false starts, which, you know, those are you can't have that. I mean, that's not something that you can live with. Some other things, I mean, you're going to get penalized from time to time, and especially if you play aggressively. And so, you know, some of the top teams in college football some years are the most penalized teams. Some of the worst teams are the least penalized teams. I mean, there's kind of not directly a correlation between those things, but the kind of penalties you can't have are false starts and offsides and lack of discipline penalties, which we had too many of those. And those are the things that you worry about. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to worry about some penalties here and there, but that come by playing an aggressive style of football. That's part of the nature of the game. But again, the discipline penalties, the pre-snap penalties, and things like that are the ones that you know you can't live with.
Stands out to you about Nichols?
You know, first of all, just the success that Tim Rebo's had there. You know, they've been a consistent football program and have been a winning program. Won some conference championships. You know, they're just established. They're going to have good players. Coach Rebo knows everybody in the state of Louisiana. I mean, he's one of those guys that everybody knows, and as a result, they're going to be able to find players maybe that get overlooked that are really good football players. And you know, when you sit there and you look at them, there's some guys offensively that really stand out. I mean, they got a left tackle that could probably play for just about anybody in the country. Really like their quarterback. You know, he makes plays, left-handed guy that can keep plays alive and distribute the football well, like the running back. You know, has been a dangerous kick returner. He's also, you know, a tough runner. He's got some good quickness and speed, does some good things. You know, Quincy Brown was a player that was here that's playing for them now that's a big body, he's an athletic guy. Like their receiver core overall. You know, defensively, they got a D-end outside linebacker that could probably play for anybody. Number 20 is a really good player for them. You know, like just overall good football team, they're going to play hard. They're going to play a very aggressive brand of football, and you know, they're going to show up here with a ton of confidence and nothing to lose and get after us.
Wasn't too long ago they got a Big 12 win, right?
Yeah, they have. I mean, they've had success against folks in the past, and you can see why. I mean, they've got a good football team, and they're going to believe, you know, when they get here. I promise you, they're going to play hard.
Aside from the false starts, Coach, what was your overall assessment of the offensive line?
You know, I thought they played pretty well, honestly. You know, anytime you run for almost 300 yards, you know, I think it shows that we were getting some movement. You know, wasn't a whole lot of breakdowns in pass protection until late in the game. I was disappointed. You know, on the last drive, we got pressured a couple of times and didn't handle it well. But I thought overall, it was a good starting point. You know, I think we have to get better. I think we have to continue to get more physical, finish blocks, play with better pad level. You know, just continue to play a really tough-minded brand of football.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Jared Wiley this Saturday? What did you see?
Yeah, I thought he you know, played hard, played pretty well. I mean, there's some things that we still got to continue to work on. We got to. You know, I didn't think we blocked very well on the perimeter, and you know, there's some things that we have to get cleaned up that way. But I thought he played hard, played pretty well, made a heck of a catch on that touchdown. You know, he's a guy that I think, again, Chandler's got some confidence in. If he gives him an opportunity to go make a play, then I think he feels like he can make it.
Were you kind of surprised that y'all didn't run Chandler as much?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we've talked a little bit about. I mean, I think it all depends on how the game's going. You know what I mean? I think that had Amani not had the success he had running the ball, then we probably would have run Chandler a little bit more. But I think we felt like, you we didn't have to run the quarterback in order to be able to run the ball. And when we ran him, he was very effective.
We'll go 2 more questions if you have them.
What do you want to see from the defense on Saturday?
Well, I want to see us tackle better. I want to see us play tougher. I want to see us do our job better. I mean, that's the thing about it is, there are times in that game Saturday, specifically the first touchdown, and we've got the perfect defense called for that play where they swing past to the running back. We're supposed to have a corner standing right there that's unblocked, and he chases the receiver inside. And, just things like that. I just want to see guys, execute the calls they're supposed to execute, and want to see us play a tough-minded, physical brand of football and run to the football. And that's one thing that, we did such a good job of in the past has been just playing with that kind of mentality. And again, for whatever reason, we didn't have it on Saturday. Felt like we got on our heels a little bit and just didn't play with that confidence that you have to play with to be a great defense.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.